5 years in the future, actually, let's say 5 years after we have a level 3 system introduced in the
so long?
fleet. Imagine that the company that's introduced it has gone out of business. They are not updating the software for their vehicle, and we have thousands of these, at this point, laughably anachronistic vehicles out on the road. Is that a question of federal authority or state authority?
It's actually a little bit of both, and you probably can answer that question better than
I'm just asking the questions.
Yeah, I mean, that gets into a whole nother realm of like kind of consumer protection and things like that. There are some laws on the book for that. On motor vehicle side, there are, I won't say requirements, but sort of expectation about how long parts are available and things like that. And we've been through that before when certain companies go out of business and parts aren't available. You know, there's ways to remedy the situation, especially if it's a recall type situation.
Yeah, it's definitely a shared responsibility. It's both because those vehicles still need to be safe to be operated on our roadways, which is what our purview will be. And who knows? I mean, Alex will probably race one of those outdated vehicles across the country, or they'll be one of these collector items, and so it's they'll be around.
Yeah, one thing that is going on, and just on this question about sort of over-the-air updates. I mean, Tesla's really the only one doing that for, we'll call it, control systems. Yeah, some manufacturers have OTA, but it's like, to change the radio design or something. It's not something that's, one day you wake up and all of a sudden you have automatic emergency braking, you didn't have it before. The manufacturers are still working through sort of how to do that. Because in order to push an OTA that like what Tesla does, you actually have to know the state of the vehicle. You have to know whether it's got power, how long it's sitting there, all these kind of things, because otherwise you're going to brick the car, like you just kill all the electronics. And so, people have fantasies about what that would look like, but there's still a lot of conversations where we are at the agency and where we're working with the manufacturers on is like at the basic level, like actually how do you do an OTA that's secure? What are the protocols in place? How do you establish that communication link? What's the diagnostic information you need from the vehicle in order to do that? So it's still very, very early in the conversation of people literally launching OTAs and like totally transforming the vehicle while you're eating dinner or something.
I am concerned in conversations of shared responsibility that when everyone's responsible, no one's responsible.
Yes.
But I'm building this all up for you, Ray, because you have a particularly useful perspective on inspection and ongoing supervision.
Right. So first of all, I'd like to address in the commercial motor vehicle space, as opposed to the passenger side, especially let's say here in New Jersey, where your vehicle inspection amounts to your emissions inspection, right? We don't do because we didn't find that there's a connection between that, and other states have done that. But if you stay within the speed limit, obey all the traffic laws, your chances of an interaction with an officer are very small. You're not going to get stopped. You're going to go on your way. In the commercial vehicle space, that's not the case. You assume that you're going to be stopped at some point because that's the job of much of the state law enforcement, state road patrols, because they will pull over randomly trucks and buses for inspection to check the equipment and to check the paperwork of the driver for how many hours have you been working, when's the last time you got rest, is everything valid, are you are capable and legitimately allowed to be behind the wheel of a CMV. So take the driver out of that equation. Now what are you checking? Does that mean put a higher priority on checking the vehicle itself? And by the way, if it's a fully automated vehicle, don't you still have to make sure that the brakes work? Because isn't that all for naught if the brakes don't work, right? So there's a lot of issues there. What I would like to tell the folks in this room, because I know that there's a perception out there that maybe, especially a large agency like DOT, that some of the modes don't talk to each other. Certainly on this issue, and by the way, we do frequently, particularly NHTSA, Federal Transit, FMCSA, and Federal Highway are all directly involved in this in particular, the highly automated commercial motor vehicle meetings. We have a working group that's actually crosses all of the modes, and it meets on a regular basis to have this type of conversation. And it's very productive. Even a mode like maritime, which you wouldn't think, well, we don't get it. Well, sure, you have a major port up here in Newark. And of course, you're going to have commercial motor vehicles at the port. That may very well be one of the areas where you're going to see the first automated commercial motor vehicles interacting with another mode. So this is an interesting area, and it takes a lot of work. But I will tell you that we do have all of the modes at the DOT actually cross-pollinating on this issue.
And I can corroborate that the modes talk to each other.